with TechView, and our guest today is Kim Hart, a well-known tech reporter here in town, and we know you from the Washington Post for years, but now you're at The Hill, and you've got a whole new assignment there. Kim, welcome to TechView.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about what you're doing at The Hill.
So I joined The Hill about 6 months ago, and in October we launched the Hillicon Valley blog. And so from the name, it's really kind of trying to merge the two worlds of what happens on Capitol Hill and how that affects Silicon Valley. Those two regions have traditionally been wide apart and have very different ideas of what's important and what's going on. And what we're finding more and more these days is that the folks in Silicon Valley really do need to pay more attention to what's going on Capitol Hill, and vice versa, as lawmakers are looking towards innovation, trying to get certain industries going again in light of the current economy. They really are realizing that they want to work more closely together. So that's my goal with Hillicon Valley, is to kind of try to focus on the intersection of politics and technology and what both sides need to be paid attention to.
Kind of like TechView. Well, it's great to have you. Tell us about, new year, new decades, 2010 now. What are some of the issues that you're going to be focusing on for this year?
Broadband. Yeah. I think that is on top of everyone's mind, whether you're at the FCC, FTC, and all of the agencies. They're trying to find ways to become more efficient, more productive, and everyone on Capitol Hill is really trying to make that happen through broadband, through expanding the access people have to it, increasing the speeds people have access to. I think you'll hear one of the talking points that people bring up a lot is that it's hard to find a job these days if you don't have access to the internet. So we're hearing just with the broadband stimulus, $7 billion put out there. That's not nearly enough, as the FCC has said, to really spur the development of these new networks. But I think that that's going to be a central theme as we talk about everything else from net neutrality and how that will affect that, to health IT, to smart grids. All of it, it really all kind of comes together, and the basic theme will be broadband.
So we had a big stimulus package at the beginning of 2009, and there's talk about doing another. Had a lot of broadband funding in there, maybe not enough. What else can the federal government do to really spur broadband penetration across the country?
Well, I think, and that's the subject of so much debate, is how much regulation is needed, and will that regulation backfire and actually deter the big companies, AT&Ts, the Verizons of the world, from building out those networks that we're depending on. The FCC has said that to get a pretty high speed to everyone in the country, it's going to cost $350 billion, compared to the $7 billion that's been put out made available in the stimulus. There's a huge gap that needs to be filled. So that's the big debate: is should there be some kind of government intervention to help move that process along, and will there be unintended consequences of that in terms of making sure that the companies that have the means to invest still invest?
And that gets into the net neutrality battles.
Absolutely.
And everything else that you're probably covering.
Right.
Now let's talk about the other really big issue in town right now, which is the proposed merger between Comcast and NBC.
Right.
Clearly, if it goes through, terrain altering.
Absolutely.
So tell us about kind of what you're seeing in that.
Well, so this is starting to get a lot of attention, where there will be two hearings on Capitol Hill this week on just looking at this proposed merger. This will essentially combine the biggest cable company in the country and one of the biggest content producers and one of the most popular networks in the country.
Or maybe one of the least popular networks now. But
well, maybe so. Maybe so. So, NBC has, access to the Olympics, to a lot of, I think that will also bring this into the forefront with the Olympics coming up. But this is what consumer advocates and a lot of public interest groups are saying, is that this places too much power into what will become one giant mega media company, that they'll have the power to control pricing, that they'll have power to control what their competitors what content they're competing cable companies will be able to receive, and maybe the prices will rise that they'll have to get for that. So last week, in fact, Comcast and NBC filed a public interest filing with the FCC, making promises that they wouldn't raise prices, that they wouldn't shut off free over-the-air television, that they wouldn't charge exorbitant fees for their competitors to get access to this content, which to a lot of people are saying, okay, good, you're making some guarantees. What the public interest groups will say, however, is, well, all they're doing is following the law. They're just saying, sure, we'll follow the law. And so I think we're going to see this constant debate. Is it pro-consumer? Is it bad for consumers? Is it bad for the industry? Is it just one? And as the FCC is also launching into its media ownership review this year, there's going to be a lot of talk about consolidation. How will this affect diversity in the media, minority ownership, which a couple of the commissioners have really expressed interest in promoting, things like that.
So the last big media merger that I can remember, AOL Time Warner, didn't really work out too well in the end for shareholders or employees.
Right.
What's the difference now? Here we are, what, about 10 years later. Obviously, things have changed a lot.
Right, right. Well, the media landscape is so different. I think we're looking at a world where people are not just getting their entertainment on their TV. They're looking online a lot more. They're looking on their mobile phone a lot more. So this creates a whole new set of challenges for the broadcasting industry as well as the cable industry, and then the content producers who are trying to still make money to produce this high quality content. So I think that that's the main difference. The media landscape has changed so dramatically in the past decade that it will really color how people view this merger.
Well, it's hard to predict what will happen, but I know it'll be fun to watch.
It will be.
Kim, we hope to have you on a regular basis going down the road if you'll have us.
Absolutely,
and,
thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks.
I'm Don Goldberg for TechView.